I'm from Hawaii, so I'm gonna be sharing from a perspective of kind of like a cultural perspective, coming from principles that, like principles from Hawaii, that I feel that is very healing physically, emotionally, and spiritually as well. And I think last time I taught, it was a principle called Nana Ike Kumu. Do you remember that? Those who were here. And that was, remember, look to the source. Like, don't look to what's around you. Remember, like you were swimming and the water's rising up and people looking to the around them, but not realizing that up the mountain, which is the source, 20 miles up the mountain, is raining and it's sunny where you're at and you think it's safe, but you got to look to the root cause, like reason from cause to effect. Go back to the root cause and find out where's the problem, right? So Nana Ike Kumu is like, look to the source. Don't look at what's around you, what's happening, the symptoms that you're experiencing. Even tonight, don't look at the symptom of addiction. Don't look at the addiction. The addictions are not the problem. Addiction is telling you there is another problem, more deeper, that you got to figure out and heal from. Does that make sense? So that's Nana Ike Kumu. Tonight, we're going to be talking about addictions, healing from addictions. And you can be, if you were here last time, I think like 3 months ago, but if you're here, you understand better about when we talk about addictions tonight. Okay? So everyone have a handout? Yeah? If you don't have a handout, you can raise your hand. So in Hawaii, there's a word we use called aloha. How many of you guys heard that word aloha before? How many know what aloha means? Anyone know what it means? Hello? Okay, good. Everyone kind of knows this. Hello. How many been to Hawaii? Oh, nobody's been to Hawaii. Okay. How many of you guys want to go to Hawaii? I'm sure, right? A lot. Okay, how many of you guys watch Hawaii programs on TV or movies? So you have like, people say aloha, and I'm sure other cultures the same thing, right? So aloha means like, it does mean like it's a greeting when you see someone for like the first time in a long time. It's also a greeting when you're departing from someone as well. But the original meaning of aloha is not hello and goodbye, because Hawaiians don't have a goodbye either. It's actually, I'll see you later, because they always feel they're gonna see you later. But the original meaning of aloha is actually love. And so when I say like aloha to someone, when I first see someone, that's actually connecting with them and saying, I'm greeting you with my love. And when I'm parting from you, when I say aloha, okay, aloha, that means like I'm parting you, a part of me is with my love. Like it's more than just like hi and goodbye. Does that make sense? So love is like a very strong thing, but unfortunately, like in the Hawaiian culture, as I believe, and even like Nana Ike Kumu, which I share, like 95% of people, and I say most of the younger generation don't understand what aloha really means. And I'm going to get more into that. And it's more the old, we call them kupuna, the elderly, who understand really the culture and what aloha really means and love. And it's like everywhere. I think about that word. When I say aloha, I mean love. Everyone has a different meaning of what love is. And it doesn't matter where you go. It could be in a church, it could be in a school, it could be in a community. Everyone has a different experience of what love is. And even in this room, if I would ask you what love was, I would get a different definition for every single one. And it's not only based upon your mental understanding of what you learn love to be in a textbook or in school. Your understanding of love is primarily based upon not what you were told what love was, but more what you experienced love to be while growing up, being raised in your home by your mom and your dad, or whoever raised you. Is that not true? Think about that. Like how you're raised really affects you, what your picture. So in other words, almost everyone has a different picture. When I say the word love to someone, they can think, wow, love to me, yes, my mom was there when times was hard and I was sick and almost died. She gave her life for me. Are you following me? Another picture of love is like, love to me is, abandonment, because my dad abandoned me when I was a kid. That's love. That's all I know what love to be, and that's all I know what to do is abandon my relationships. Or love to me was, well, my dad said he loved me, but right before he gave me a good crack, right? So to them, love is different. Does that make sense? So everyone has like a different picture of what love is. And I was in Southern California and there's this speaking engagement. And I was talking with this young boy, and he's probably like 21 years old. And we were trying to deal with his root cause, and we kind of found out what it was, and tried to share like, what's his root cause? And I tried to explain his love-based solution to help deal with his problem. So I explained it to him, and then he looked at me and says, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know what it looks like. And then I look at him like, oh, okay. So I tried to explain it from a different angle, what love was. And then he said, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know what it looks like. So like, oh, this guy, let me try explaining it a different way. So I tried explaining it a different way, his solution. And then he said to me again, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know what it looks like. And then it clicked to me because he shared with me that when he was growing up, he said to me that he never knew what love was. He never had parents to show him what love was. It was a very abusive home. So I'm trying to explain to him, but it's not drawing in the picture because it's like it couldn't paint a picture in his mind what love was because all he knew was a false love. In other words, he was saying to me like, I don't really need you to explain to me what love looks like. Because I've never seen it. You can describe it words, but I can't. I need to taste and feel and experience what love is. Does that make sense? And that's why we have this 10-day school. I came to the realization, I travel, speak in the United States and internationally in different countries. And I came to a realization that, okay, people need to have seminars like this. This is important. But even more important than having seminars like this, you know what I realized? People need to see love in action. Because you've been raised your whole life seeing love to be a certain way, right? Okay, this is love because I've been raised a certain way. I was raised in an alcoholic home. To me, okay, that abusive home, that's what I don't care what a textbook tells me what love is. I know love to be what I experience in my love and how I've been modeled it to me. So I reveal that to whoever to my family, or whoever it is, right? My relationships, which become very toxic. And so our picture of love is very critical in how we treat other people. And so there's another girl. I was in Washington State in the United States, and this place called Walla Walla. And I was doing this seminar, and afterwards I was talking with this young lady, and she just said to me that unfortunately, she was sexually molested and raped almost every night by her own dad. And it was a very tragic experience. And she was sharing it like, she said, I had to go back, and she ran away from her home, and she said, I had to go back and unlearn everything I thought I knew was right about what love was. And I have to not only learn, but I had to unlearn first. The hardest thing is not learning. The hardest thing is to unlearn what you think is right, and which is really lies. And then you have to learn the truth of what is really the truth and what is reality. Does that make sense? So her whole life, she thought was fed to her by her family to keep her isolated, secluded, controlled, abused, sexually abused, was a lie. She had to discredit that. And then she had to believe the truth of what is the truth and live in a different world in that way. So now you can see that there's a different picture of what love really is. You're thinking tonight like, okay, so what does aloha or love have to do with addictions? And to that I answer, everything. See, love is the only thing, we're going to find it out. We're going to go through this process of love. Love is the only thing that can really bring the healing that we really need for the root causes of our addictions. And we're going to go through that as well. So I'm going to ask you a question. Where have you been wounded in your life? It's a good question. It's on your handout. And right now we can break them to groups of maybe there's 3 people, maybe 4. And just maybe talking among each other. Can you do that right now? And just kind of open up, introduce yourselves, and just kind of start some conversations going. Where have you been wounded? So just want to go on that concept. And you may be asking, okay, what does aloha or love have to do, like I said, with addictions, right? And so You see, when you have unhealed pain, it's kind of like, I kind of showed this, I think, the last time, where, like, when you have a headache, right? What do you normally do to kind of relieve your physical pain? What do you take? Tylenol, right? Like aspirin or whatever, yeah? Pain reliever to relieve the pain. And so in the emotional realm, what people do is, and I was sharing last time that headache is not, numbing the pain receptors in the brain does not solve the root cause of that problem, right? It could be like you're not drinking enough water, you got too much sunlight or whatever, right? Or you ate something that really gave you a headache. So there's something, or maybe you have a brain tumor, right? I mean, it's saying that there's other things. You're just numbing the pain receptors that's warning you, that was given to you and you're made for as a warning, like a symptom. In the same way, when you have emotional pain, what people are doing is they're taking what we call pain relievers. And there's the obvious pain relievers out there that you see. There's people who's taking they're drinking alcohol to drown out their sorrows, right? Maybe they're anxious, nervous, and where's my cigarette? I can relax, right? Take the edge off. Or they're just taking, meth or whatever it is to kind of escape reality, because the reality is too painful to relieve reality. But then I call things what I call behavior drugs, behavior narcotics, or behavior drugs that are even considered to be socially acceptable, like overeating as a behavior drug, as a way to numb your pain. That's legal, right? Overeating or eating whatever addictive foods that highly addicted to make you feel better, like chocolate or whatever it is, right? So things like this, or who likes ice cream or donuts, yeah? Mace loves the donuts. But this love that, just like that, whatever it is that really kind of makes you feel good, like they call it comfort foods, right? They kind of comfort you. And then you also have these other different types. So we're talking about what is that? And the reason why is because somehow we didn't get the true love. We're looking, right? We had a false love that left us with hurt and wounds that you're all talking about. And what people do when they're wounded, they look for something to relieve that pain. And that's why they turn to addictions. That's how addictions begin. Does that make sense? Like somehow there's a false love that's been going around and people have been hurt by that. And so the root cause of addictions is because there's been a false understanding of what true love really is. And that's why I want to focus on not only like talking about what love is, but actually seeing what love is. Because we can talk about like higher love. So there's a higher love that we're going to talk about. But there's a lot of people who talk about higher love, but like May said, they don't live it. So that's something to think about. We're going to break into groups again at this time. And the second question in your handout, where in your life have you not felt real love? Oh, by the way, right before we go into that, just wanted to think about this concept that higher love is based upon an unselfish love. An unselfish love that puts someone else before you, in Hawaii we call it malama, take care of someone else at the sacrifice of your own self. And then also on top of that, there's something called a love that's not based upon conditional love, which is, in other words, I'm only going to love you if you do something for me first, or I can get something out of you first. So like if I want my son to be a great athlete, but he never becomes that great athlete, I'm still going to love him even though he never becomes that great athlete that I've always wanted to become myself secretly, right? Does that make sense? Or my daughter doesn't come home for 10 years, run away from home, doesn't talk to me for 10 years, but still I'm going to love her because my love for her is not based upon her condition of her loving me back, but just because. We love just because. Why? Because she's my daughter. Does that make sense? Just because she's my son. So there's that unconditional love and unselfish love that we're talking about, where you take care of someone else, even at the expense of yourself, what's better for the other person. The other type of, the false love is based upon selfishness and greed. Like, what is it for you? What can I get out of this? How can I manipulate this person to get what I want? How can I guilt trip this person and get what I want? So everything is kind of based upon either selfishness, right? Or it can be based on unselfishness. That's what love is. So, and people can say, people can label it unselfish love, but the very acts they do contradict the very things they're saying out of their mouth. And that is the most scary, when people do that kind of stuff. And I think I deal with all kinds of abuses, but the worst type of abuse is kind of like how Mace was saying, like in his home, like in the name of saying this is what love is from a spiritual perspective or a mental perspective or whatever perspective, but saying this is what love is, but actually your very actions contradict the very words that's coming out of our mouths. Does that make sense? So that's the most dangerous that you can actually see out there. So we need to understand that there is a higher love based upon unselfishness, and there's a lower love I call, which is based upon selfishness. So that's why the next question is, where in your life have you not felt real love? So just talking about unselfish love, in order for love to be love, there must be at least like two people. There can't be me, myself, and I, because that's selfish. It has to be like between at least two people and you're kind of interacting with each other. And we're made to love. There must be two people. In order for love to be love, you must share yourself with another person. We're made for relationships. We're made for connection. We're made for attachment. We were made for that. As a baby, do you know they did that study, and I think it was in the Dark Ages, King Henry, where they had these babies, and they decided to feed these babies, put a roof over its head, keep it warm, change its clothing, diapers, whatever. And they decided not to give these babies any love. Do you know what happened to these babies? Most of them died. And you're saying, what? They had the food, they had warmth, they had clothing, they had changed the diapers, they had everything. Why would they die? Because we were made for love. Everyone here was made for love. You're made to love, to be loved. You're made to be attached. You're made for connection. As a child, as a baby, you're longing and you're looking for that in your parents. And when you don't have that love, there's an emptiness inside. There's a hurt, there's a pain, there's wounds inside. And you grow up in your whole life, you have this whole wounds, and it affects you in all and every single relationship you have, unless you experience healing. And that's why we're talking about healing from addictions. And what people do is, they do many things. Sometimes they escape to a false reality, which can become an addiction. Sometimes they go, they stuff their emotions down and don't deal with it, which is very dangerous. Or they let their anger out and let everyone around them feel their anger. There's another way they deal, right? That's the other extremes. Or people numb the pain so they don't really hurt other people around them. But eventually they do. They're hurting them in an indirect way, because when one person is addicted, the whole family suffers. Is that not true? So you can't even say, oh, it's my own addiction. No way. You're hurting everyone else who loves you all around. So that's what the danger of addictions. And this higher love gives us a different picture. I was at a place and I shared a message, and afterwards this mother came to me and wanted to talk to me about her boy. And her boy was having these fits of anger and rage. And I turned to this boy and I told her the story about my daughter. And I said, my daughter, I tend to hug my daughter and say, how much do you love me? And she says, this much. She goes to this, like a water tank. She goes, like about this much. Then I hug her again. How much do you love me? And she goes, oh, okay, about here, this much, Daddy. I said, that's all. And she goes, yeah. So I hug her more. And she goes, how much do you love me? And she goes, oh, about this much. And I keep playing the game, and I hug her more. And she goes, how much do you love me? And she goes, oh, okay, it's to the sky now. And I go, that's all? And she goes, okay, it's all the way to the heavens. And I go, that's all? And I keep going this love. And so I told this little boy this story about how me and my daughter play this game. And then I said to her, how full is your love tank? Like a water tank you fill up. How full is your love tank? And then he put his head down, he looked down, and he went down his ankles and he said, to here. And then I turned to the mother and she said, I'm so sorry. I'm a single parent. I try my best. I just have no time to spend with him. And do you kind of see that, yes, anger was just kind of like his little thing, his addiction, he was acting out upon it in fits of rage, uncontrollable rage. But do you see that there's something there that there's a connection between his emptiness of his love tank directly to his fits of anger. Do you kind of see there's a connection? It's not like, oh, I'm angry, oh, wow, I'm just angry. No, there's always a reason, there's a root cause. That we're very out of touch with our own thoughts and our own feelings and what goes on in here and how we're thinking. We're very out of touch with knowing who we really are and how we act and why we do things that we do and we don't do things. And because we're out of touch, we just continue on this vicious cycle, what they call insanity. And insanity is what? Doing the same things over and over, but expecting what? Different results, right? So it kind of just going the same thing, vicious cycle, like a ping pong machine. It's kind of, how many of you guys remember ping pong machine? That's what you got on the gaming. You just kind of going all over the place, bing, bing, just banging over the place, right? Like you have no control. Your life is going here, banging out. You have no control where that ball is going. And that's your life, is out of control. And that's why we have to there needs to be some type of control. And that's what we're talking about love. Like we've been hurt. And when you're hurt from all these things, like these people are hurt, these children are hurt, unless there is healing that comes, you're going to turn to addictions. And so the addictions, to me, is not the main problem. Yes, it's a problem. Yes, it's very harmful to you. In some sense, addictions can be a little helpful. It's almost like, okay, I know you're addicted, but let's kind of work together and getting off your addiction. At the same time, deal with your root causes. Because if you don't deal with the root causes and you quit the addiction of alcohol, guess what's going to happen? Yeah. Or alcohol addiction is going to come right back, right? Or it's going to switch to another addiction. Does that make sense? Because you're not dealing with the root cause, which is the hurt and the pain and the wounds that they had from the past. This is how you read. There's two ways. You have to deal with both sides. You need to deal with the symptoms of addictions, which we're going to talk about, yes. But you got to go back to the root causes. Because if you don't deal with the root causes, like we talked about last time, reasoning from cause and effect, that addiction is going to come back. And it's going to come back stronger with a vengeance. You know why? Because then in the mind, like, I tried this already. It doesn't work. I worked for a year, but I'm right back, even worse. I might as well just give up. There's no hope for me. Because that is focusing on addiction, which is actually just a symptom telling you that something deeper is wrong. But no one's telling them, hardly anyone's telling them, hey, there's something deeper that we need to heal from that's deeper inside of the heart. And that's what we want to focus upon. And you're wondering why are we spending so much time upon wounds and actually a higher love and like an unselfish love and unconditional love and why want to learn about there's lies about love, what love looks like. Because that is the root cause. I want to focus on that. We can always talk about addictions till we blue in our face. I mean, there's so much addictions. And actually I have a whole presentation I can talk about addictions. And I'm briefly kind of go over a few of them. But really you want to focus on the solution. Because I mean, this thing there's so much of different addictions. And like I said, there's the regular addictions, sex addictions, anger addictions. But there's the other socially acceptable addictions, right? The food drug that is out there, the work drug, something about going to work and you're doing a good job and go, wow, man, Keala, you're such a good worker. I go, oh, wow, thank you, right? And you go home like, well, you're not no good worker anymore. Like, oh, where you been? You better go take out the trash, right? Like you're nobody. At work, you're up here, and at home, you're like, your kids disrespect you, they don't talk to you, you're way down here. And so it's totally different. The shopping drug, the gaming drug, fantasizing drug, kind of escape to another world. A lot of times women go in this way because the higher levels of estrogen, they kind of this fantasizing about Prince Charming, sweep them off their feet, and this perfect knight in shining armor sweeping off and putting him on a horse and riding to the eternal Hawaiian sunset to live happily ever after, right? This is kind of like, and how many guys, anybody watch WandaVision? We saw that. Did anybody see that? WandaVision? No? Oh, nobody did? Oh, what is that? How many guys actually, no? Marvel? No, you didn't watch Marvel? Who likes Marvel here? No? Nobody? I guess America is big. Does anybody like Marvel? Okay. But WandaVision, you know what they did? They went into the whole thing. She created a whole world that was fake. That's the whole thing. And lived in this world that this kind of like, you kind of live in a false reality. Do you know that people live in false realities? They believe a lie. They rather believe a lie than believe the truth of reality. In some way, all of us in some way believe some type of lie because the truth is too painful to face and to live. Does that make sense? Like, it's safer there. It's comfortable. But the world around you will start to unravel and to have problems. And it kind of get worse and worse and worse. And so that's another, like a drug, fantasizing drug. And then there's pornography drugs. That is huge. America is huge, but come on, Australia too. Around the world, there's a worldwide addiction problem of pornography. And it's only getting worse and worse and worse. And so there's many different types of addictions. And I was in Northern California, and I was speaking this engagement, and afterwards, people were coming talking with me, and there's one man that was kept walking back and forth. And I was just waiting for him. And then I said, you next? And he said, no, let them go first. So here's the last person. I had spoken that night. The last presentation, I think, was at 7. It was already like 10:30 at night because I was talking to all these people, and they kept talking to me. And finally, I was talking to him, and then he sat down to me, and we're trying to figure out his root causes. And he said to me, I have something to tell you, but I don't know if you can handle what I'm about to tell you. And I was so exhausted because it was like all weekend. I was tired. I was phasing in and out already, and I kind of wanted to go home already. So I was like, okay. But we said, let's find the root cause. So I went in there. I didn't really want to hear it because I know it's going to be pretty heavy. And I was really exhausted. And he said to me, I have something to tell you, but I don't know if you're able to hear it. Then I said, okay, let's go find your root causes. And I couldn't find it. And then finally he said, I have something to tell you. I said, okay, go ahead, tell me. He said he's addicted now to anger and pornography, sex, he said. And he can't get over it. And then he said, well, let me tell you my story. I said, okay, go ahead. And he said to me, I've never told anyone ever this story ever. And he said to me that when he first started his medical career, he was in his room alone with this young girl. She was only 10 years old. And just them two alone. And all of a sudden, something went wrong. And he was like panicking. And he was just doing his clinicals and he didn't know what to do. So what he did was he flipped a switch, but it was the wrong switch. And he knew what he needed to do. He needed to flip that switch back off, but he didn't. And what happened was that little 10-year-old girl died. And he said, this guy is in his 60s. His whole career. He said, no one knew. Can you imagine living your whole life with that hidden guilt that no one knows about? The hidden shame, the hidden pain and anger at yourself for causing that, the hidden, like lying, not being honest and telling people about. Can you imagine living that way for the rest of your life? Can you see that pain? Why are you following me now? Why he would turn to addictions? Like it's a temporary relief. I mean, you do some kind of addiction, whatever addiction is, it is a relief, right? But it's only temporary. And what happens is you have to go to the next one. And many times the doses needs to go higher, right? And then what happens the next time? It gets only worse. And it gets worse and worse. And many times how we treat addictions is like, man, you just need to quit. Are you following me? Man, you just need to quit. I quit. How come you can't quit? Are you following me? It's like that's the solution. Like that's not helping nobody. You're gonna make it worse. Like I tried quitting like 20 times and I can't even quit this stuff. And the reason why they can't quit is because we're hitting the wrong thing. We're hitting the symptoms and they're stuck and we're leaving them more discouraged and depressed than ever by telling them that. Like you gotta be equipped to and really the solution is very simple. It's like go to the root cause. The root cause is there's something there hurting them. And you all have hurts here. If you all have hurts and you all were sharing with one another, don't you think the rest of the world have hurts out there as well? Don't you think that they have addictions as well? Like we all have it. Like we don't have to hide anything from each other, right? I like it that you guys do share and open up. That's pretty awesome. But they're hurting out there, and they're looking for solutions. And the solution is not being told that you better stop it already. You're going to die. If you're going to die one day, as if death isn't something maybe they even seek to release them from the pain sometimes, right? Like, I have people tell me that I was drinking because I'm hoping I would die one day. That's what they're telling me, because the fear of death was less, right, than the fear of the pain of the wounds that they're experiencing in their heart. That's pretty deep when you have to kind of look at that. There's two fears. We naturally fear death, and it's in us. But somehow the fear of death seems less than the fear of having to face my pain. And though that's why people commit suicide. And unless we deal with the root causes, like we're not doing anything, we're not solving the problem. It's kind of like the sink is on here. What if this whole shop was filled with water and the sink was on? Can I turn it on? Oh, not on. Save water. Oh, this one here. Okay, so if I turn it on, yeah, see? But what if I plugged it up and the water's overflowing everywhere, the whole place? Besides Nick getting mad at me for doing that, but what if it's going on and we come in here and say, okay, buddy, grab a mop, and we're just mopping everything up. But we're mopping everything up, but the sink is still going. And we're doing this for half an hour. What do you think? But the sink's still going, it's still overflowing. How about we do it for 3 hours? Are we still mopping up? All of us here mopping. What do people think about us? Idiots, yeah, that's right. 3 days? 1 week? A year? 10 years? Don't we do that? 10 years, we're telling our people the same thing. They have these addictions. I mean, we're mopping up the problem. We tell them, just go to a rehab program. Go to anger management classes. Manage your anger. Does that make sense? Like, we're doing them the disservice by doing that kind of things. Like, what we got to do is, we got to go to the sea. Oh, sorry. It is clogged. Sorry about that. Oh, I just got to put a plug, yeah? Oh, it's going down. Yeah. So, yeah. But if you just go down here and you're like, oh, yeah, it's clogged. Sorry. But if we don't deal with, the root causes, oh, thank you. If we don't deal with the root causes, it's going to come right back. And we leave people more discouraged. That's why we got to go back to the root causes and deal with that as well. So there's different types of false love. And I kind of put it down there for you can look at later on as well, that there is love that is like a false love that doesn't work. Addictions that are fed by false understanding of love. People think that love is abusive. Like, I can control people, and that is love. But controlling people is not. It's not love. And they think, well, if it's for the purpose to save someone, that is okay. Like my children. Now, it is true that when a child is a baby, they don't have a mind. You control their mind. That makes sense. But the ultimate goal is not to let your child grow up and you controlling their minds, that when they're older and past 18, that you're still controlling them. The ultimate goal is to teach them to self-govern themselves, to have self-control on the inside of their own hearts. So whether dad or mom's not there, they can go out and they can govern themselves anywhere in the world without someone hovering over them. Does that make sense? Like, your goal is not to govern them and control. And so that's a false understanding of love. People think, oh, well, lying is okay, as long as they're there to protect them. But if people think that, okay, I can lie as long as this is the means, as long as the end is to actually get something good to happen in the end, it's okay to lie. Now, I believe sometimes it's okay not to give information to people because they can't handle it. It's too heavy for them. Like, the truth will be too overwhelming and it'll crush them and then hold it back on purpose. That's good. But I'm not lying, I'm just withholding. But to lie to get something I want in the future end, that can be very dangerous. And how many like to be lied to? Right? I remember, I come from a very addictive family, alcoholic. And, I was drinking hard, very young, hard liquor. And I drank more for recreation, for fun. But there was this one girlfriend who not only cheated on me, but was lying to me the whole time. And I never knew. I mean, it's one thing to be cheated on, but to me, the lies and living a whole world that I thought was real, but was all based upon lies, and everyone else knew, but I didn't know. I mean, how stupid do you, how many have been there before? Let me see a hand. Oh, a few of you. Okay, oh, one more. Yeah, raising your hand. But just that being lied to, that's when I started to really drink, because I felt like I needed to numb my pain. It was so painful. I felt drinking was my escape. Before that, it was recreational. But see how being lied to, this false lie, love of lies, can actually hurt you as well, right? And then people who are being selfish, treat people selfishly, thinking that's love, that's not love as well. So there's different things that can hurt you. So here's a question, and you can break into groups for this. What addiction are you using in your life to numb your pain? It's in your handout. If you look at your handout, there's in the question, and it says, what addiction are you using in your life to numb your pain? And there's all types of addiction. It can be movies, it can be music, whatever. Whatever you feel like, your phone. I mean, my daughter's addicted to the phone. I'm addicted to the phone. So there's addictions out there. And where has it led you in your addiction? Go ahead, break in your groups and talk about it. Okay, let's look at, it's in your handout. So it's a practical things for the symptoms. Okay, so this is how in our program, this is what we do. Like when we deal with addictions, we don't just deal with one side. There's two sides of addictions that you have to deal with. There is the symptoms, the effect, and one's the cause. So reason from cause to effect. You have to deal with both. Now, example, like if someone's suffering from, okay, let's look at it like the physical realm. Like they're suffering with some kind of like withdrawal symptoms. Say, interesting or not, overcoming like coffee is very hard for a lot of people. It's like an addiction for them as well. Like their headaches become so painful, they can't even think. Like for me to deal with the root causes of their addiction is important. But when they have extreme headache from like getting off their coffee, all they can think about is the pain. Does that make sense? So I want to relieve their pain. I don't care about dealing with the root cause yet of their addiction. I want to help them relieve the suffering first. Isn't that more merciful to do first, right? Makes sense? So you help them first at that aspect. And then when that's over, then you can work on the root causes. In the same way, when you want to help someone, it's like, you don't want to go straight to the root cause. Well, and they open up and you finally found out the problem and says, well, you've been hurt. We need to heal from when your father abandoned you and doesn't want to visit you, even though he lives only 5 minutes down the road. Right? Like, you don't want to just go there first because they're just feeling the pain. Like, you have to relieve the pain, the current pain that's caused by the hurt they're facing because they're currently suffering in a relationship with their current, say, spouse or the wife or the husband. Is really bad. The kids hate their guts, which is very hurtful for them that their own flesh and blood is hating them, right? This is very present day pain. And like, I don't want to go in there, well, hey, let's go back to your past and deal with how your dad is, right? How he was before he never so loved you. No, you have to go like, well, let's help your relationship out. Let's kind of soothe things out with your marriage first. Let's kind of work things out first. And then let's kind of leave that. Let's kind of work with you. And really it's them, helping them to experience healing for themselves. And once that happens, then relationship will become better. And then the children become better. And say, hey, by the way, now that we've done this, then we can go back and let's deal with your root causes. But many times we're dealing with both at the same time. But I'm not going to go root causes first. Let's alleviate the pain, the symptoms, and then let's go back to the root causes and deal with both of them. Does that make sense? So we're going to deal with symptoms here. So dealing with addictions, we like our program, we encourage to eat healthy. Like your diet has a major role in how you feel. Like if you eat healthy, we promote a plant-based diet, which is vegetarian for you Polynesians, because we love our meat. I know that. My family loved our meat. We're known as we used to kill a whole cow, seriously, and have it all cut up and stock it in our big freezers. That's how much we love meat. We don't go to the store and buy meat. We kill actually a whole cow and have it cut up. And everyone knows us like, wow, he is the meat-eating family. And so for me and the Polynesians, like Polynesians never go vegetarian. And for me to go like plant-based and vegetarian was totally, like everyone's in shock. Before it became like trendy. Now in America, it's very trendy. Like everyone's all cool, like all trendy now. I think over here too. But like before, like I was there and like, man, people were like, it was very hard. But it really affects how you feel. Not only like helping you overcome your addictions easier, but even your behavior and temperament. So there's scientific research that shows that men who eat plant-based diets actually treat their spouses, their wives, way better than men who don't. Like there's many like science that shows that you're more peaceful, you're more calm, you're in control of your anger, your emotions way better. So that's why we promote a plant-based diet in our program that we run. Another thing I noticed that in talking to nurses who work in mental health facilities in America is that they notice that a lot of people who are in mental health facilities, like depression or mental breakdowns or whatever it is, extreme anxiety and all that, they have a high consumption of sugar. They love the sugar. And sugar really is like almost like alcohol. Yeah, it's very similar composition. But people can get drunk off sugar. But they just kind of like, they're always feeding on sugar. And so, and you know, it's everything. If you look in the store, even canned corn has sugar in it. It's like almost like it's put in there to keep us addicted to that item, to keep buying it and buying it and buying it. But if you were to read your labels, which probably, I don't know how many of you guys read your labels, you probably don't care, but if you were to read your labels, you realize if you want to stay fit, you really got to stay on top of your healthy lifestyle. Your diet is very important. And so that, if you want to get off like addictions, sugar, get off like cane sugar especially is very bad for you. So stay away from cane sugar. Doesn't matter if it's brown sugar or white sugar, it's still cane sugar. So to stay away from those type of sugar. Good sleep, very important. I noticed that when I don't sleep good, like I don't get good sleep, I get hungry. And I think the body confuses like hunger and sleep. Does that make sense? Like I'm not even hungry and that's why I hate to not get sleep, because when I notice that I eat way more, I weigh myself every day. I try to stay fit and I like weigh myself and like, I notice that I just eat and I'm not even hungry and I'm done. Like, why do you eat so much? And then when I watch something on a program, and I watch a program, and I tend to eat more. Do you notice that? Like you just eat more when you're watching something. And like the more you can stay away from that. So good sleep is important. Like it stays away from addiction. You tend to become more addicted when you actually don't get good sleep. Exercise is important. This is something that I tell people. I think we dealt with depression already. Did we? Did we talk about depression? Oh yeah, Mace did. Like people email me and I give them these 3 things to do. And one of the 3 things I do, like over internet, is email. And I said, one of the things is exercise, at least 20 minutes a day. And 2 weeks later, they contact me and says, wow, my depression went away. And they say they're in deep depression. And one of the 3 things I did was exercise. Something about exercise is it kills depression, scientifically proven. Second thing is sunshine. Sunshine kills depression. Going out in the sun at least 20 minutes a day, going to the beach and getting that sunshine. And that's why those places like in North America, United States of America, like say in Portland, Oregon, and in Washington State, all those places where there's very little sunshine in the year, high depression rate, high suicide rates. And that's why they have treatments in America, ultraviolet light. If there's no sunshine, they give ultraviolet lights you can buy in your home, you can turn it on, and you can ultraviolet light to help bring healing from like depression and everything. Isn't that amazing? But this is the sunshine state, is it not? Right? Now there's hardly any sun, but actually you can do that. So think about it. That's the second thing I give. I tell people sunshine, exercise. That's powerful. Like it can't really live. Now I'm talking only symptom sides, right? You can actually overcome the symptom side of depression and like addictions. But if you don't deal with the root causes, what's going to happen? It's going to come right back again, right? And then you can apply all these like principles. There's something called New Start. You can apply these principles, but it's going to come right back again. You got to go back to the root cause. And the other thing is we use in our program, we have herbal teas. So like we have a tea that we give them to help them to overcome the physical side of addiction of say smoking. Take this tea. And then we have another tea that helps them deal with the emotional side of the addiction of being using, depending upon this thing to help them overcome that as well. So herbal teas work, and we're not talking about black tea or green tea, like caffeinated teas. We're talking about Like the herbal teas is non-caffeinated. That's kind of every culture kind of has them, whether it's Aboriginal or Native Hawaiian or Chinese or whatever, or European. They have different kind of herbal teas. And then the last thing is that hardships. Hardships are allowed to come into our lives, and it's a way to be used to overcome these addictions. Is very important. So those are the 6 steps. And again, this is the symptom side that really works. And these are tools. Remember we talked about that? I'm teaching you guys like I like to play around with cars and fix it. But you can't learn how to fix a car in one class. Like this is like the 2nd class I'm giving. Macy's gave like the 2nd or 3rd class. But it takes a lot of classes to be able to do it. And you have to practice it in the field. I can't give a class on how to change the front brakes. I can, but it won't mean nothing to you until you actually go out and you do it, right? So these are things you can practice for your own self. And the best thing you can do is you can do it for yourself. Because when you do it for yourself, that's the best thing. I know Nick was talking about the workers here. Like if you work here, like if you can the best thing for helping someone to heal who sits in your chair is not to give them intellectual knowledge. The best thing is that you can experience healing for yourself. And then you can tell people, like almost every person that I meet with for sessions here, like in America and counseling sessions, like every single one of them tell me, I want to go into the counseling. Like there's no greater power, not someone who goes to school and gets a degree and passing on intellectual knowledge. No, it's someone who's actually experienced true healing and then able to pass that true healing to someone else. Is that what's more powerful, right? Like I've been there and I've escaped that prison, that dungeon of despair, and I can help you because I escaped. Like if someone's in a chair and they're telling you, like you can actually help them. Why? Because you experience it for yourself. So experience healing. You cannot give that which you do not possess. Right? You cannot. You can give words, you can give encouragement, but if you haven't experienced healing for yourself, like where's the power in that? Does that make sense? Like you gotta experience it in your heart first before you can give it to someone else. The world is full of people who just tell people what to do, but they're not doing it. Yeah? Like action speaks louder than words, right? Like if you live the life, like, wow, this guy, he's different, man. He's like, and like, wow, he really experienced healing. He knows what I'm talking about. He's been there. Like, man, that's so powerful. So that's the symptom side. And then this last part I want to share is love. For the root causes, love is the only solution. Love is what we're created for as babies. Remember the babies died when they didn't get love? They died. People turn to addictions because they don't have experienced that love. They feel empty. They feel lonely. They don't have that attachment. Well, the solution for that lack of attachment and the hurt and the pain that comes from it is the very same thing from the beginning that we're made for, which is unconditional, unselfish, a higher love. Not a love of this world that we see all around. It's a lower love, selfish love, but it's an unselfish love. And that's what people are hungering and longing for. And, that's why people they look at like Marvel's cinematic universe, yeah? And you look like the Avengers, like when, Black Widow, she gave up her life so that Hawkeye could live and be with his family, right? She actually died as a superhero. And then you see like Iron Man, who had a family and gave up his whole life so he could be with, so he could save the whole universe, right? And so there's examples of this unselfish love. And I'm saying this because we need to look away from the selfish love that we see all the time and see an unselfish love. What I relate to in America, there's something that's happening a lot lately. It's called, doesn't happen here so much, but it's called mass shootings. Have you guys been seeing that on the news? Like, do you know that mass shootings in America has escalated after COVID-19 to unseen proportions? Like it's out of control. And mass shooting is where there's a shooting where at least 4 people get shot. That's a mass shooting. And so it's been, this year alone, mass shooting is out of control. Like one weekend, I don't know, 10 different mass shootings or 20 different mass shootings in one weekend. Machine guns is shooting, mowing down innocent people. That happens all the time. So I like to see the unselfish, heroic acts of people who've been gunned down, who actually gave their lives to save people who've been gunned down by the shooter. To me, to see the unselfish act is like, it breeds unselfishness. Like, it like inspires me. Like, wow, that's so inspiring. I like that. I want that. And that unselfishness love breeds I look at that unselfish love and I become changed to that unselfish love. When I look at that unselfish love, inspired from a higher love that's not seen here. And so I look at it and I long for that. And there was actually, CNN made an article, and I'm just going to read what happened. And this is what they said. And some stories that actually happened at this Aurora, Colorado, where there's this guy, gunman went in the theater and he shot and killed a whole bunch of people, like 20 people were killed. Anyway, they say, and I quote, CNN says, by all appearances, these men who died believe that a man has a responsibility to protect a woman, even to the point of death. They believe that there are things in life worth dying for, and an innocent woman sitting next to them was one. They're on a date with their wife or with their girlfriend or whatever. They believe, to put it simply, in a code of honor. They put the lives of the women before their own. An old-fashioned notion, to be sure, that's what they say, but certainly an honorable one. If you have any doubts, ask the survivors. Their instincts were to protect, not run away. And I'm going to share some stories. There's a guy named, and they mentioned Matt McQuinn. Matt McQuinn was one of them. Matt went to the movie theater with his girlfriend Samantha and her brother Nick. When the gunman started shooting, Matt and her brother Nick pulled Samantha to the ground and shot at her, and Matt died after being hit 3 times. So the first instinct was not to protect himself, but first instinct was to protect the loved one, unselfish love, right? Jump on top of them, protect, and take 3 bullets, and he died. That's his girlfriend. John Larimer jumped over his seat to cover his girlfriend, Julia. He jumped over his seat. Julia told the story. John just ducked over and held my head tight and put his body in front of mine. And in the process of doing so, he got shot. I feel very strongly that I was saved by John and his ultimate kindness. Isn't that powerful? But now all men revealed unselfish love that night. There was a person who revealed selfish love. This is the lower love we're talking about, which is what creating all this wound and pain in this whole, and all around us here and in the world. Jamie and Patricia were watching the movie when the gunman opened fire. Jamie was holding his 6-month-old baby, son, and what he did was he went and he hid the baby, slid the baby under the seat. Okay, and after he did that, he turned around, had a balcony behind him. He jumped over the balcony, ran to the parking lot, and jumped in his car and left. He only turned around when his girlfriend called him while he was driving away from the theater. Selfish love. The girlfriend said that she had a daughter with her. She pulled her daughter, and then what she did was, while she was crawling, she saw her son, 6-month-old son, tucked under the seat in front of her. And she was panicking because she didn't know where to find her boyfriend. And she grabbed the baby, and right when she grabbed the both of them, she got hit by the bullet. And she was just lying there. So she couldn't get her 2 children out of the theater. What happened was there was another boy, Jarrell Brooks, a 17-year-old young man who was trying to get out of the theater when he stumbled upon Patricia and her 2 children. And he said, "Do you need help?" And she said, "Yes, please." And said, my kids. And he saw that she had her 2 kids. So what he did was he made sure that her 2 kids pushed them out into the lobby from the aisle, because they have to run on the aisle while he's shooting everybody. And he got her and he pulled her out. And while he was pulling her out, he got shot in the leg. I saw the interview when they actually met together again after they were healed for a little while. But that is the unselfish love versus selfish love. Jarrell, that 17-year-old boy, on his mirror in his bathroom, this is what he posted. He said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." Like, when things are going good, come on, anyone can make it through it. But when things are going bad, you're going to see the real person, right? And that's when you see the real character of who a person really is. And so it's very inspiring. Alex Tevez jumped on top of his girlfriend, Amanda, when the gunfire erupted. Amanda said, "He held me down, he covered my head, and he said, 'Shh, stay down. Just stay down, shh. So I did. I know he would do anything for me. And he always told me that too. I just wish I could have protected him the same way he protected me. I've been telling people that he was my angel that night. He too took bullets and he died. And John Blanc instinctively pushed his girlfriend Jansen to the ground and threw his body on top of hers. He was killed from the gunfire. His girlfriend Jansen survived, said, "He's a hero and he'll never be forgotten. He took a bullet for me." Jansen's mom said that John was the kind of guy you want your daughter to be with. And ultimately, she's alive because of this, because he protected her. He pushed her down on the floor, lay down on top of her, and there, he died. Isn't that beautiful acts of heroism? Unselfish love. That's what it looks like. Putting someone else at the sacrifice of yourself. Now that's extreme measures, but that's what love can look like in the home as well. Rather than competing with your spouse, who's right and who's wrong, but unselfishly putting the other person first, this is very powerful. And this, when we look upon in action what true love looks like, that's what change, not seeing in action. People are not looking for people who talk, but people who live it. And when you see that love in action, that's what really changes people's lives. And I want that. How about you? What do you say, huh? Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that's it. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We're very grateful that you came. And if you have any questions, you can talk to us afterwards. And our next meeting next month, May 26th? 26th of July. So we're going to talk about how to actually work your brain to actually move in a good direction so you can actually have control of your life.